Well, hey there guys, in this video, I want to share the 3 systems that will change your business and that will enable you to change your life. Now, if you're looking to scale from where you are now, maybe you're at $0 in your business, maybe you're at $10,000 and you're looking to get to 30, 50, 100K per month specifically, maybe running some sort of consulting, agency, high ticket business, then this is for you. Now, if you're new to the channel, I've worked with over 850 high ticket clients since 2018 in the agency space and the info space. So with that in mind, let's jump into the content. So there are a few key systems that will enable you to create pretty much the freedom that you want to get out of your business, right? So the first system is the acquisition system, and this is arguably the most important, especially when you start. So the acquisition system is how efficiently do you actually get customers? So are you able to run a ad, or you could run some kind of outreach campaign, and from that process actually get a customer. Now, I have been a big proponent of paid ads for a long time. I think paid ads are one of the most efficient ways, specifically if you find it difficult to target a certain segment of the market by just doing outbound alone. So for example, if you do outbound, which is things like real estate, which is things like cold email and DMs and whatever. So that's fine, and it's easy to target industries like real estate, because people put them on their profile, hey, I'm a real estate agent, right? But if you're looking for a group of, say, mums who are looking to lose weight, there might be Facebook groups for that, but it's going to be so much simpler to run an ad. Okay, so what you've got to understand is that if you have a proven acquisition system where you put out a promotion on whatever platform, okay, that promotion turns into a qualified lead, okay, a qualified lead. And that qualified lead turns into a appointment. Now, between the appointment and the sale, you've got to do a lot of nurture, but that will turn into a sale. Now, this process of putting out a promo, getting a qualified lead, getting an appointment, and then closing the deal, if you can do this efficiently, where you're putting in, say, honestly, like if you can put in $3, like $1 and get $3 out, you're good, right? Especially at higher spends, right? If you can put $1 in and get $3 out, you have a business that you can print money from. But that's only the first section. And now I said that arguably this is the most important. It's the most important to start with, but I would say that over time, the next phase that I'm going to mention is actually the most important. Now, I keep dragging my mouse because I'm trying to figure out how to actually move the page without actually drawing, but it's not letting me do that. No. Okay. Okay, so the next system is your fulfillment system. Now, I would say that over the long term, this is the most efficient. This is the most important system. Fulfillment is the most important. And the reason fulfillment is most important is because it does 2 key functions to your business. The first thing is it creates your reputation. And the thing is, I've seen guys that are so focused on making money that they become really good at acquisition. But what happens is, if you become really good at acquisition without actually wanting to do a good job for your customer, and you don't kind of have that, I wouldn't say empathy, but you don't have that kind of care for your customer, it's not going to turn out well for you. So you've got to really focus on guarding your reputation, and really having a good reputation comes down to not many things. It's just getting good results. So being good at what you do, and being good at what you do means you study, you practice, you take time. I see so many posts on social media like, oh, actually be good at what you do. And it's like, well, are you good at actually what you do? Are you good at what you do, right? Are you actually good at what you do? So it's easy to say that, but you can do it. If you practice and really dedicate yourself to the skill set and the craft, that will allow you to have results. And the other thing too is it's communication. So if you have good client communications and good results, you'll do really well. And a really good metaphor that I like to talk about, particularly for this type of issue or this concept here, is what Mark Ford in his book Ready, Fire, Aim calls, you want to view business in terms of love, not war. If you view business in terms of war, what will happen is you're going to view your customers as obstacles to your goal of making money. But actually, you should view your customers as people that you should fall in love with per se, because if you do really well for them, they'll just keep paying you. And that comes to the next thing, which is recurring cash flow, right? So recurring cash flow here is the big one, right? So having a really good fulfillment system will allow you to have a good reputation and good recurring cash, which will allow you to sell the business later on. Now, what is a good fulfillment system though? So a good fulfillment system really comes down to obviously getting good client results, but there are a couple of extra things that it does kind of that will kind of make a difference. So let's break that down. So the first thing is, first and foremost, it is client results. Like, what you've got to understand is that if someone pays for an outcome, so this is results and outcome, they want the outcome. Like, you can give them a free, chocolate, hey, we'll give you this and that. Like, you can have all these bonuses, but ultimately what people want is the outcome. And I've found that time and time again, there is one big thing that they sign up for, and usually that's the promise that you have in your ad, right? Or the promise that you have in your initial promotion is they want the outcome. So you need to make sure that you can deliver the outcome that you promise pretty well most of the time. Like, there's going to be instances where, as an agency or consulting company, you're not always going to get the outcome, but ultimately you need to be able to get the outcome, most of the time. Now, the second thing is, it's not just the result, but it's the speed in which you get the outcome. Okay. So the speed to the result, or people call this time to value, how long it takes for you to provide value. Now, the speed is going to make them feel much better, and it's going to validate their decision of working with you. Because what happens is people often buy and they think, you know what, I don't know if this is going to work out. Like, let's just see how it goes. And so if you can really get them a result in a quick amount of time, they're going to have so much faith in you, because I guess underlying all of this is faith, right? Or belief. There's a faith or belief. I'll probably use the word belief about your process. And so if you can get them results in a fast period of time, their belief is going to really skyrocket. It's just kind of how it works. Now, in addition to the speed of results, the next thing that will help you buffer that is the communication. So if you're actively communicating with them pretty well every day in like WhatsApp or whatever, that's going to give them a level of reassurance. Okay. Now, the communication is going to enable them to feel like you're on the job, that you're actually doing what you said you do, all these types of things. So having really good communication is really, really key. And the worst thing you can do is start to hate your clients. Communication is going to give them reassurance. And the thing is, you want to love your clients. You don't want to hate your clients. And there's no reason to hate your clients. The only reason that you'd hate your clients is if you don't have boundaries, okay? So what happens sometimes is that they'll communicate to you, or like they'll just say to you, I want, something that's out of scope, okay? Now you've got to have strong boundaries and say, if it's out of scope, it's not what we do. We can do it for X, Y, Z. And obviously there's a little bit of nuance here, because you can get a pretty bossy and demanding client who will try and have you as their second employee or something crazy like that, which can happen. They can try and do that. It's really important that you just have good boundaries and you don't let them kind of just ride roughshod. And if you do have good boundaries, then you'll actually like your client, because you'll be able to see them for who they are, that their personalities, they're demanding, and they'll try and take control. But you've got to be able to know what your role is and what their role is. And this is a big deal. If from the outset you can define as clearly as possible what your role is and what your role isn't, and what their role is and what their role isn't, it's going to make it so much easier. And there's got to be a little bit of nuance here. It's not like this is like a one-stop shop, like this is how it works. You're going to have some clients who will be really confident, and they're confident because they know their market. So if you do like advertising, you'll know that like what you're going to understand with advertising, it's all about understanding your market, knowing your market. So if you know your market really well, if they know their market really well, you should probably listen to them even when they're demanding about it, because the thing is, they know their market. So you want to listen to them and respect them. You don't want to be like, I know, because what I know happens sometimes is you think, because I'm the expert, I have to be the only person making decisions. But you've got to find the nuance for each client as to how much input they get and how much input you get. So finding that kind of balanced customer relationship is really important. And then what I would suggest is, once you start to get it like 5 to 10 clients, is I would spend more of your time nurturing your existing clients. Don't go on the client chase. Like, I would almost just focus on not even worrying about getting new clients. Like, just focus on doing really good fulfillment, because that's free cash flow. That's cash flow. That was not free. It takes your time. But if you can build a really, really strong, potent system for getting client results, then that's literally just, cash flow that you don't need to spend on ads. Like, it's just a game changer. And now the last thing really is turning this into a system. So automating the whole process. So this is the last key system that will give you that freedom. So automating the process is pretty simple in terms of how to put it together. And it looks like this. So the first thing is, you need to understand, or you need to define, what do I need to do, or what do I need to complete to get a result? So to get a result, what are the things that I need to do in order to get that result? And usually that comes down to tasks. Okay, so task management. So usually there are a set of tasks that get a result. Now, the more defined your target market is and the type of client that you take on, the more standardized the tasks are going to be. But the more kind of variance in types of clients that you work with, you're going to have frameworks and systems that are able to capture the variance in result for different types of markets. So one rule that people have, and I think this is a pretty good rule, but you can kind of find your own, I guess, balance with this, is you want to have one product for one person with one platform with one key promise. Okay. So I'll write this out, and this makes it really simple. Like if you have one product, right? So let's just say we do cold calling for one type of person, for solar, for one type of platform, cold calling, and the promise is like 30 appointments, right? So we have one product, which is a cold calling team for solar companies doing cold calling, getting 30 appointments. Now, if you start to add stuff and you go, we're going to also do on top of solar, we're going to do real estate. And also, not only cold calling, we're going to do SEO, okay? And then that adds to there. And then it adds another key outcome that you're going to get, which is ranking on Google. But the thing is, that's just added so many layers of complexity. And so the way that I'd view this is, if you have a cold calling team with solar doing cold calling, promising 30 appointments, that is called one product line. So that is one product line. And if you can turn that into like think of like a conveyor belt. Like you have one person that like, think about car manufacturing. They get the car shell, then they add an engine, or I don't know what the sequence is, but there's probably a series of like 200 steps that they do to actually produce a car, right? So you need to create that product line. Now, there's a really good book called Testimonials, and they call it a critical client flow, or I could just call it a product line, which is like, what are the 100 steps that we need to do in order to get this client the key result that they want, okay? So what is the result they want, the task they need to get it, and then the last thing is who, right? Who does it? Now, in the day and age of AI, you can get AI to do a lot of these steps, or you can get a person, right? So what you've got to do here is create essentially one product line that creates the key outcome for that particular product that you're selling. So if you're selling cold calling to solar companies, have a product line that maps out the 200 steps that it takes in order to get that client the result. And so guys, these are the three systems. It is the client acquisition system, where you're able to turn $1 into 3. That is what I'd say is the minimum. Find the platform or the promise, get the qualified lead, appointment, and sale. Now the fulfillment system is getting results with recurring cash, okay? Getting results with recurring cash. So results to outcomes, speed to result, communication to reassurance, and having boundaries about what's out of scope so that you love your clients, view your clients in a lens of love, not war. And then it's automating this. So finding out what is the key outcome in the product line, turning that into a set of standardized tasks, and then who does those tasks. With this process all mapped out, you guys will be able to seriously crush with any kind of agency or consulting offer that you put together. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Peace.